So here's the kind of final result, final render. It's the raw render. Nothing was done to it yet. So this is what we're going to import into After Effects. I have After Effects here fired up. I'll import the XR sequence, and the XR sequence is I'll import it as a composition. Remove the contact sheet. I don't need that, and we'll have this imported here with all the passes. I'll open up the assemble comp, which contains all of the passes. I'll hide all of this. Remove this ProEXR description. Null, and this is the RGB, and we'll just resize this, and let's get to a frame somewhere in the middle and work on this. I'm not going to do a conventional comp here. I will just use some of the passes. SSS, the subsurface, reflections, transmission, and AO. I'll put them above the RGB and put them on all of them in screen mode. I just want to boost some of these components and maybe decrease some of the, like if we isolate only some of those. Yeah, it's barely visible, so let's leave that at 100. Transmission is a little bit stronger, maybe set it to 50%. And the reflections, I want like another 50% here. So I'll leave all of these enabled. So already we boosted some of those components. The AO will be on top of all of them. The AO is like this. It contains all the displacement detail and some of that, basically the contact shadows, and the AO also applies to the displacement. The sampling on the render wasn't the highest. I rendered at 600 samples, which is usually not enough, but for a test render, like it's all right. I mean, it's something in the middle. I could have used the denoiser, but the denoiser is a little bit heavy sometimes. It adds some overhead to the memory used in the GPU, so especially on big images. I'll add a adjustment layer here. It's going to be a really quick slap comp that I'm using just to that I'm doing. It's just for checking if everything works fine. In the adjustment layer, I'll name it CC here. CC and effects, basically. And I wanted to check if the motion vectors were rendered properly, but it seems like we have the same kind of bug in Octane. There's a few bugs that pop up sometimes with Octane. This is why Octane is still not the production renderer at this time. It's not the #1 production renderer, but it's uncomparable in terms of speed. When everything fits in the memory, it has no comparison with other renderers. This is why I love it. It's because it's really fast and it's easy to achieve realism because it's a spectral renderer compared to the other ones. So let's see the motion vectors. I'm gonna try to boost them with exposure, see if there's any info there. Yeah, I can do it underneath here, but the recording panel doesn't allow me to do this. Yeah, apparently we don't have any. Let me open up this info tab, see if there's any information here. It's 0 all over the place, so even if I put the exposure at 100, motion vectors, it seems like there's no info there. So yeah, the info vectors don't render at all, apparently. Something that I was ready to expect. So yeah, let's use the Z depth here. I'm going to use an effect called fast bokeh. Bokeh from Robite. It's a great plugin that I use all the time. It's faster to render than the Freshluft plugins, because the Freshluft plugins were one of the most used depth of field plugins for After Effects. I used fast bokeh because it's really multi-threaded and it's much faster than the other one. Okay, so let's check a few boxes here. Linear working space, use GPU. Edge behavior, repeat edge pixels. Oh, I picked the Z depth, and also there's a bug in Octane in this current version. You can see that apparently when you use a displacement on objects, it just gives you some null, like absolute white pixels in the Z. I suppose this is because of the edges of the geometry. I don't know how it translates into the Z depth, but we have these artifacts here. But we can work with this. I don't think it's gonna be a big of a deal. Yeah, so there's no way to fix it at this moment. I tried a lot of things to fix it, but yeah, it doesn't really work. In the previous versions, I had this bug where the Z depth was containing a lot of white pixels like this, but from the noise in the image. And usually the Z depth should not suffer from a low sampling. but yeah, it does in some versions, so it's really a bug. From version to version, some of these issues arise, so yeah, we have to work around this. Yeah, so this AO will be multiply, and it's too strong here, so I'll leave it at like 20 maybe, 20%. And in the CC, I'll put here the fast bokeh will be here. I'll use the focus point. It will be a focus point that I'm going to set on the monster itself. What I'm usually doing for moving scenes like this, I will just keyframe this, set the focus point every time. Every 50 frames, I will be animating, moving this point just so it's right there where I need it. And we'll animate this. Yeah, and one last keyframe here. And that's cool. And in the blur radius, I'll put like 100, something really shallow depth of field. And we have to check use focus point every frame, so it's not set only on the first frame. So this is going to animate this depth of field. Yeah. That's cool. Now, let's maybe boost with exposure here. I rendered in 16-bit per channel, so this is enough information. So if I boost this SSS a little bit, maybe it's at 100%, but if we boost it a little bit more, maybe 7, and you can see that it boosts and adds that pinkish skin color as if there was a light behind the skin layer. And maybe it's too much, maybe 4, something like this. So let it be a little bit subtle. Okay, right. And yeah, the comp is really not that serious. I'll just improve what's already in the beauty. Let me double click here and go to the closest keyframe. Move this focus a little. Move this focus again. And I love having this kind of shallow depth of field. It improves realism a lot. And looking at this polygon, but it's not going to change a lot because we don't have any really strong specular highlights in the background. We have just that shiny grain of the asphalt texture. So yeah, render quality, yeah, all good. So it's really fast to calculate. You see that I'm scrolling through I have older 2080 super cards from MSI. These are from the 2020, the year 2020, and yeah, these are not the fastest cards on the market right now, but look how fast the fast bokeh is working. So I appreciate the speed. With other depth of field plugins, it's not that fast, really. The difference is huge. So let me see if I can. Oh, the highlights. So it will maybe add some of that. It's barely changing much. Brightness gain. If we go back, or we see some background. Yeah. So let's see if it's doesn't change much. Especially, it's basically for the highlights. If you have any really strong highlights, it will boost them, give them more contrast with the background. Intensity boost. So yeah, it doesn't really change much, but yeah, let's leave that here. And I'm using Colorista from Magic Bullet for coloring my stuff, because I'm really bad at color correction. So I'll just use this guided color correction, which will allow me to just go through the basics and boost some of the features of my render. Temperature, pinkish kind of. Finished. And we'll maybe go down here in the contrast. Not going to abuse a lot this. And highlight boost. So yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll use some grain here. I want to add some grain. I use the sapphire grain. The reason why I switched from After Effects to Nuke is exactly this reason. Like, you see, I'm using 3 different plugins from 3 different companies, and I don't like that at all. So I worked in 3ds Max for a decade, and I've had the same story, and I don't want to go through using licensing, buying plugins every time there's a new version, and paying for subscriptions on top of the subscription of the base software. And this is why I don't like the uncertainty that comes with using the different plugins from different companies. You will never know the incompatibilities that exist between these plugins. Same goes for 3ds Max. It's a lot of issues arise during production, and this is why I use Houdini and Nuke now. because there's almost no plugins except the renderers for Houdini and maybe some plugins for Nuke, but those are really not necessary because Nuke has all of those features integrated. So yeah, as grain, which is terrible right now, we will use a monochromatic grain. So the grain will be, yeah, I'll use the parameters by default, but I added some of that grain, and maybe the size. Let me increase that and see how big is the size. And as you can see, it's a colored noise, and the color frequency, you can increase that to 300, 400. Yeah, something really 350 or something like this. Black and white. So yeah, it uses the color amplitude. So basically, let's decrease this, but do it black and white and use the same frequency. So now we have this black and white. That will decrease the intensity 0.04. So this is nice. This is not bad actually. And let's maybe add a fish. Yeah, again, you see there's a revision plugin that I had in my After Effects. It's a superfish effect. Basically, it's just adds a fisheye kind of effect, and the intensity is, let's play around with these parameters. Or maybe I had this wide lens, ultra wide. Yeah, this guy. So this effect kind of adds that anxiety effect. I'll use the GPU here, and the warp amount is the main parameter here. And it doesn't want to update, which is weird. Okay, it takes a while to update. So yeah, the kind of zoom in effect that it creates, you see that it pulls the corners in all directions, and it increases it. It's like a magnification effect, as if we were looking through a really macro lens, and there's this anxiety inducing effect. So 70, I will not abuse it too much. It will eat out some of those pixels. It will auto scale this thing. So if you don't do the auto scale, it will just do this. And maybe 50. Let's keep it really subtle. I'll use the S-grain and colorista after. So the distortion effects are first, and then the last ones are the effects that just add something on top of the image, like color correction or grain. And what else? Let's save this. Maybe add the curves. An S-curve. Like, I'm not that great at this, but yeah. With the cryptomatte masks, I can really increase the contrast of this ground, but that's all right for now. We have some nice reflections here, some specular. The noise adds some of that realism on top of it. And yeah, what else? We have all of these effects. So if you compare just the RGB with the composited, we boosted already the features that were there, hid some of those issues, and yeah, that works nicely. So yeah, the last thing I would add maybe would be some glow, real glow, I think it was called. Yeah, so another plugin from another company. You see what I'm going with this. So it just adds some glow, some of that glow. And let's actually have this other glow effect, deep glow. And this guy is like what's cool about this guy is you have integrated chromatic aberrations, and you have the glow input. So usually, let me turn on all of these. Oh, that's interesting. The deep glow doesn't like, so I'll put it after the color correction here. So let's see the glow input, and in the input here, we'll just increase the thresholds. So I want to isolate those highlights with these two parameters. So you have these highlights. These are the areas that will receive the glow. And I'll switch to the final render here, 003 for example, and that's funny. This is what I was talking about actually. So the deep glow doesn't like the other plugins. If you disable all of them, all of the other ones, it works. But if you re-enable the ones, this is the funny thing. So in production, you cannot risk this kind of stuff, especially if you have a specific set of plugins that were bought for you at work, and then you have the licenses, and this should not happen, but it happens. So let's disable this real glow, go back to that real glow effect I had, and just a slight glow after the color correction here. Re-enable the S-grain and curves, maybe push the curve, add some more contrast here, like this. Yeah, and yeah, so now if you compare, the difference is pretty huge. And yeah, I think we'll stop at this. I'm pretty happy with this version. It has less liquid than the one that I had before, but I think it's a subtle effect. It doesn't overwhelm the animation. So yeah, I'll render this and come back to you. So this is the final result. There's some things that could have been improved, especially the meshing of the flip fluid, but I love the bubbles that create on the ground. They kind of still move around. They get thrown by the arms on all directions. The inflation is amplified, so I love that too. Before we had a lower settings for the inflation, but here it shows like there's something happening, something's boiling inside or something's moving inside that body, and the arms are kind of putting the body together. There's the wrinkling on the arms if you look closely, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening here, and I hope you learned something from this tutorial. I think I covered a lot of topics, even though some of them were really at the surface. Houdini is an amazing software that has all the needed capabilities to do anything. So I think creatures and vellum is one of the most underrated topics that wasn't ever covered in tutorials on the market right now. So let's see what I can come up with in the future about this topic. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching and listening. See ya.